Paul goes on to say that God determined when we would live and where we would live so that we would seek him. People I have heard a million times since I came to Christ, and I've told them about Jesus and how you need to be saved. They said, well, what about the guy in Africa that's never heard of Jesus? What about him? You know, it's not fair that he's going to hell and you're going to heaven. They don't understand that God, in his word, has already resolved that by saying that all people were placed at exactly the right place in time and in location to seek after him. We are without excuse. The guy that is in Africa in 1352 AD that's never heard of Jesus would no more come to Jesus then than he would standing right here listening to this sermon today. We've got people all over. I'm looking at them all over the place, and these people haven't called on Jesus. And if they have, then they would have been saved at some other time. They are at the most propitious time of their existence, wherever they are, whenever they are. God determined that before they were created, where they would be, and appointed their times so that they would seek after him. So there is no excuse, because we are all sons of Adam. Adam sinned, and because Adam sinned, we're all separated from God because of Adam's sin. What we need is a new birth to be reconciled to God. Not to worry about the guy that hasn't heard of Jesus. We need to go out and tell him about Jesus. We don't need to worry about all of these minuscule issues that people get into when there's a greater picture that God has planned this for his glory and for our good. So please keep that in mind, that God already knows about the person in Africa or the person in Tibet that has never heard of Jesus. He wouldn't have called on Jesus in America. In fact, in the United States, one of the states that I'm going to be speaking at has gone from about 85% Christian down to 50% Christian since the 1950s. That tells me that there is a bunch of people that have rejected God and his plan of salvation through Jesus Christ. And those people could have lived at any time in history, and it would have been no different. I hope you're understanding my logic here, is that God has prepared us for him in the most propitious way possible. Paul goes on to say that their own poets, and then he quotes Epimenides, who is of Crete, and a guy named Aratus of Sicilia, where Paul was from. He quotes their work and he says, these people understood the nature of God, and so should you. In fact, he kind of points it in their face and says, can't you see this? They saw it, why can't you see it? They can look at the tree, they can say there must be a God, and then they reason things out about God because of that. And when Paul quotes them, that means that what they reasoned out is correct biblically, even though it's not in the Bible until Paul spoke it. Not all truth is in the Bible, but everything in the Bible is truth. That's a good way of looking at it. Okay? Paul goes in using this logic in Romans 1, and he speaks about what God must be like. And I'll read you that. This is Romans 1, 18 through 24. The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness. They see the tree, they don't want to acknowledge the tree, and so they go out and do everything to avoid acknowledging that there's a tree there because God must have put it there, or a world there because God must have put it there. There's things, and therefore there must be somebody that makes things. Since what may be known about God is plain to them. As I said, the flowers make it known. The trees make it known. Because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God, nor gave thanks to him. But in their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Is this you? I hope not. If your heart is darkened to the things of God, then ask him to open your eyes. The grass will be greener, the sky will be bluer, and you will understand how loving and wonderful God is. Going on, he says, they took that and they exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal men, and birds and reptiles and animals. Therefore God gave them over in the sinful desires of their hearts to the sexual impurity, for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worshipped and served the created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. So we have taken what is obvious and we've closed our eyes to it, or we've turned our back to it, so that we don't want to acknowledge God. Instead, we want to acknowledge our own selfish desires in this life and have nothing to do with him. But he is real, and he is reaching out to you, and he does love you. I'd like to go back and read again what I read from Psalm 19 so you can understand that even King David, 700-800 years before Paul wrote those words, understood that nature tells us about God. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they display knowledge. There is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. This is general revelation. This is God saying, I created these things and you should be looking for me. But special revelation tells us how to have a relationship with God. Special revelation is God speaking through men who are chosen by him to reveal his word to the world. And that special revelation is the Holy Bible. It is the way that we can know God intimately. And the Bible speaks from the very first pages of Genesis all the way to the last page of Revelation about the one to come, Jesus Christ. It is Jesus Christ who the Bible speaks of and provides us that special revelation. He makes this infinite God that we cannot attain knowable. As it says in Colossians, he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn above all creation. It doesn't mean that he was created. It means that he existed before creation. He is God's only begotten Son. He is the Son of God who makes the unknowable knowable. So that when we see a tree, we can say, now I understand the nature of God from that tree because I understand the nature of God through Jesus Christ. And the circle is complete in him.